I want to talk about Sean Strickland's amazing victory over Khamzat Chimaev, and specifically why everyone was so wrong about how the fight would go. So whenever Strickland spoke about how good his wrestling is, or his friends spoke about how good his wrestling is, people interpreted that as them talking about how good Strickland's takedown defense is. And they would say things like, his takedown defense can't be that good because if Dricus took him down so many times, imagine what Khamzat is going to do. But Strickland wasn't saying that. He wasn't saying, oh, he's never going to be able to take me down. He was saying that Khamzat was going to take him down and control him for a round or two, and then it would become a stand-up fight, and Strickland would piece him up on the feet. And Strickland's friends or training partners like Carl Borralho, or even people like Benil Dariush, said the same thing as Strickland. They said, oh, it's not that Strickland's going to have such amazing takedown defense like Jose Aldo or Belal Muhammad. It's not that. It's that he might be controlled for a round, but Strickland's counter wrestling is at such a high level that he's going to be able to scramble for a round or two and then win the following rounds. And even though Carl Borralho said that Strickland's game plan would be that, he still picked Khamzat Chimaev to win, gave the edge to Khamzat, and I interpreted that as him giving the benefit of the doubt to the fighter who has never lost before. But I myself thought, well, if Strickland counter wrestles for a round and Khamzat Chimaev's energy does indeed deplete, then I do favour Strickland to piece him up on the feet. So I think Strickland's going to win. So that's the first thing. People misinterpreting Strickland saying he's good at wrestling as him saying that his takedown defense is amazing. It wasn't about takedown defense. It's about how amazing his scrambles were. That's what him and his friends were talking about. But people just chose to ignore that information for whatever reason. The second thing is, people, whenever a fighter says great things about themselves, they think of that as subjective, and whenever a third party says good things about the fighter, they think of that as objective. Or rather, they don't put much stock in what a fighter says about himself because, oh, of course he's going to say good things about himself. But I don't think that's true. Like, how a fighter talks about himself is very useful information and very valuable information, and could be even more useful than what their friends say about him. So I remember I read a comment on Instagram that, like, there was a video of Sean Strickland talking about how good wrestling was, and the comment was from a Dagestani fan or a Chechnyan fan that said, oh, Dricus du Plessis said the same thing, and he had so many likes. And I'm like, that's nonsense. Dricus didn't say the same thing. Dricus said something like, oh, I'm not going to focus on what he's good at. I'm going to focus on what I'm good at. He might have said something like, oh, I'm well-rounded and I'm good at wrestling too, but the main thing he was saying was, I'm not going to focus on what I'm good at, on what he's good at. I'm going to focus on what I'm going to do and what I'm good at. So it also has to do with the specifics of what the fighter is saying. So Dricus wasn't talking about how good his wrestling is. Strickland was very emphatic about how good his wrestling is. Strickland kept saying, it doesn't matter who I'm going to wrestle with. It can be the best wrestler in the world. I will win. Because all I do is wrestle, man. And he emphasized it again and again. So this whole thing about, oh, of course he's going to say good things about himself. No, what a fighter says about himself is useful information. You can't just be like, oh, it's a third party, it's objective. He's talking about himself, so let's just ignore it. No, if he's very specifically emphasizing all the time that all he does is wrestling, don't be a fool and just be like, ignore it. No, he must know something for him to say that. And he kept saying that when they trained with Khamzat, Khamzat would have one good round and then Strickland would take over. We saw that in the fight. Well, we didn't see that in the fight because Khamzat did have a second wind, and like his energy didn't deplete completely. He was able to hang in there with Strickland, but still Strickland won. And yes, and it wasn't just Strickland saying about how good his wrestling is. Islam Makhachev said that Sean Strickland probably has better wrestling than Dricus, Beneil Dariush, Kyle Borralho. Even Kamaru Usman said, oh, this might be the fight where we see how good Khamzat's stand-up is, because Strickland might counter wrestle and then it's going to become a stand-up fight. And Kamaru Usman was right as well. So overall, amazing, sensational performance by Sean Strickland. And I think a lot of people ignored details or evidence that went against what their heart already decided about this fight. So yeah, like and subscribe.